25 years ago, my daughter destroyed everything we had. Now her son just handed me this key, and what's inside might destroy me again. I'm standing in this storage locker, hand shaking so bad I can barely hold the padlock. The air smells like rust and old cardboard. Inside is a wooden box, small, maybe the size of a show box, and I recognize the handwriting on top. It's Mia's, the same loopy letters she used to sign her homework. My grandson drove 3 hours to give me this key. He wouldn't tell me where he got it. Just said, "Grandma, you need to see what's inside." Then he left. Before I tell you what I found, you need to understand how it all began. Comment where you are watching from, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Our house on Brookside Lane smelled like cinnamon rolls every Sunday morning. I can still hear Thomas humming while he fixed the squeaky cabinet in our kitchen. Mia would run down the stairs, hair wild, wearing mismatched socks, late for breakfast like always. We weren't rich. Thomas and I ran Pruitt's Hardware, this creaky old shop on Main Street that smelled like sawdust and motor oil. Our neighbors knew us. We knew them. Friday nights meant high school football games. Sundays meant church potluck. Mia was our everything, our only child. After 3 miscarriages, she came into this world stubborn and loud, and we thank God for every second of it. Thomas would take her fishing on Saturday mornings. She'd come home with mud on her jeans and stories about catching the biggest bass in the county. Most of them were lies, but we loved them anyway. By the time she hit 17, though, something changed. She'd stare out her bedroom window for hours, stop mid-conversation like her brain had left the room. When I'd ask what she was thinking about, she'd say, "Nothing, Mom. Just bored." Bored. In a town where everyone looked out for each other, where she had everything she needed. One night at dinner, she pushed her plate away and said, "I can't do this my whole life." Thomas looked up from his meatloaf, confused. "Do what, sweetheart?" She waved her hand around. "This. All of it. I need more." Thomas tried explaining how we built the store from nothing, how we saved every dollar for her future, how roots mattered more than dreams. Mia just stared at him. "You don't get it." She was right. We didn't. If only I had listened to what she said that night at dinner. Daniel showed up on a Tuesday afternoon in October. I remember because Tuesday was inventory day at the store, and Mia had promised to help. Instead, she came home 3 hours late in a car I'd never seen before. Black, expensive, with tinted windows. The driver stepped out first. Tall, maybe mid-20s. Steel blue eyes that looked right through you. He wore a leather jacket even though it was 70 degrees outside. "Mom, this is Daniel." His handshake was firm. Too firm. Like he was proving something. Thomas didn't like him immediately. After they left, he said, "That boy's too old for her. And what 24-year-old drives a car like that?" I wanted to trust Mia. She was smart, capable, but mothers know when something's off. The phone call started that same week. Late at night, whispered conversations behind her closed door. I'd press my ear to the hallway wall, catching fragments. "I know. I can't yet. They wouldn't understand." Then came the money. First, it was small. A 20 from my purse, 50 from the hardware store register. I thought maybe I miscounted. Thomas said I was getting paranoid. But then my credit card statement arrived. $500 charged to some online bookstore. When I asked Mia about it, she said she needed textbooks for community college applications. Except we didn't have any books delivered. I checked her room when she was out. Found letters tucked inside her desk drawer, job offers in Chicago, New York, places that felt impossible. And notes from Daniel, promises written in neat handwriting. "I'll take care of everything. Trust me." One morning, I was folding laundry when I noticed her jewelry box was empty. The silver necklace Thomas gave her for her 16th birthday, gone. The bracelet from her grandmother, gone. "Mia, where's your jewelry?" She barely looked up from her phone. "Sold it. Needed cash." "For what?" That's my business. Thomas overhead and slammed his coffee mug down. Nothing in this house is just your business, young lady. The fights got worse. Doors slammed. Voices raised. Mia stopped eating dinner with us. Some nights, she wouldn't come home at all. I tried talking to her alone. Sat on the edge of her bed one evening and asked if Daniel was treating her right. If she was safe. She laughed. This bitter, sharp sound I'd never heard from her before. Mom, you wouldn't understand even if I explained it. Try me. She turned away. You and Dad built your tiny life in this tiny town. That's fine for you, but I'm suffocating here. I left her room feeling smaller than I'd ever felt. The next week, I got a call from our bank. The woman on the phone sounded nervous. Mrs. Pruitt, I'm just calling to confirm. Did you authorize a transfer from your savings account? My stomach dropped. What transfer? $1,500. Yesterday evening. I hung up and checked our account online. She was right. Then I saw another withdrawal from 2 weeks before. Another from the month before that. Someone had been draining us slowly, carefully. When Thomas got home, I showed him the statements. His face went white, then red. Where is she? We searched the house. Her room was exactly as she'd left it that morning. Bed unmade, closet open. But when I checked her desk, I found something that made my blood turn cold. A bus ticket to Chicago. One way. Dated for tomorrow. Thomas wanted to confront her immediately. I told him to wait. To think. To approach this carefully. We didn't wait carefully enough. One morning, the bank called. Nothing prepared me for what they said. Mrs. Pruitt, I need you to come down to the branch immediately. The bank manager's voice cracked when she said it. I remember gripping the phone so tight my knuckles went white. Thomas was already grabbing his keys. What's wrong? I couldn't answer. My throat had closed up. We drove to the bank in complete silence. Every red light felt like an hour. Thomas kept glancing at me, waiting for me to say something. But I had nothing. Just this sick feeling spreading through my chest. Inside, they led us to a back office. The manager, a woman named Patricia who'd known us for 15 years, wouldn't make eye contact. She slid a paper across her desk. Your savings account. It was entered last night at 11:47 p.m. Thomas leaned forward. What do you mean entered? $37,000. Withdrawn in full. The room tilted. I heard Thomas say something, but it sounded underwater. $37,000. Every penny we'd saved for Mia's future. For her college. For her wedding someday. Gone. There must be a mistake, I whispered. Patricia pulled out another document. The withdrawal was made with your daughter's debit card. The one linked to your joint account. Thomas stood up so fast his chair crashed backward. Where? Where did she take it out? The ATM on 5th Street. Maximum withdrawal limit. She made 4 separate transactions. I thought about that ATM. It was 2 blocks from Daniel's apartment. We have security footage. If you'd like to see it. I didn't want to see it, but Thomas nodded. So Patricia pulled up the video on her computer screen. There she was, Mia, wearing the jacket I bought her last Christmas. Hair pulled back. She looked calm. Not nervous. Not guilty. Just focused. She inserted the card, typed the PIN, waited for the cash. Did it again. And again. And again. At one point, someone walked past her, and she glanced over her shoulder, like she was checking if anyone was watching. Then she stuffed the cash into a backpack and walked away. Thomas made a sound I'd never heard before, somewhere between a gasp and a moan. We need to call the police, Patricia said gently. No. Thomas grabbed my arm. We need to find her first. We drove straight to Daniel's apartment, a run-down complex on the east side of town. His car wasn't there. We knocked anyway, pounded on the door. Nothing. Thomas called Mia's phone 17 times. Each time, it went straight to voicemail. After the 10th try, Her mailbox was full. We sat in the car outside Daniel's building until dark. Neighbors started staring. Thomas wouldn't leave. "She'll come back," he kept saying. "She has to come back." But she didn't. Around midnight, Thomas's breathing got weird. Short and shallow. He pressed his hand against his chest. "Thomas, I'm fine. Just give me a minute." He wasn't fine. His face had gone grey. Sweat beaded across his forehead even though it was cold outside. "We ain't going to the hospital." "Lydia, I'm..." Now. I drove 90 miles an hour down empty roads. Ran 3 red lights. Thomas kept saying he was okay, but his hands were shaking. The ER doctors took him back immediately. "Heart attack," they said. "Stress-induced." They stabilized him, hooked him up to machines that beeped and hummed. I sat beside his bed, holding his hand, watching his chest rise and fall. "Where is she?" he whispered. "I don't know." "Why would she do this?" I didn't have an answer. The next morning, I called the police, filed a report. They took notes, asked questions, promised to investigate. But the officer, a young guy who looked barely old enough to shave, basically told us the truth we didn't want to hear. "She's 18, legally an adult. If she wants to leave, that's her choice. She stole from us." "Did she have access to the account?" "Yes, but..." "Then technically, it's not theft." Thomas heard that from his hospital bed, watched me try to argue with a police force that didn't care. When they left, he turned his face toward the wall. I drove back to Daniel's apartment. This time, I knocked on his neighbor's door. An older man answered, cigarette hanging from his mouth. "You looking for Daniel?" "Yes. Have you seen him?" The man shrugged. "Saw him loading stuff into his car yesterday. Asked if he was moving. He said something about a fresh start out west." "Was there a girl with him?" "Young thing. Dark hair." My heart stopped. "Yes." "Yeah. She was crying. Looked real upset. But she got in the car anyway." He shut the door before I could ask anything else. Back at the hospital, I told Thomas what I'd learned. He closed his eyes. "We lost her. We'll find her. We'll..." "Lydia." He opened his eyes and looked at me with such exhaustion. "She chose him over us, over everything we built." I wanted to argue, to say she'd been manipulated, that Daniel had twisted her mind. But deep down, I knew Mia had made a choice. She'd looked at our life, the hardware store, the small town, the Sunday dinners, and decided it wasn't enough. The money was gone. But she took far more than that. She took our trust, our hope, the version of her we thought we knew. Thomas came home 2 days later. Doctors said to avoid stress, get rest, take his medications. But how do you rest when your whole world just collapsed? He barely spoke. Stopped eating. Spent hours in his workshop, staring at the tools hanging on the wall. I kept calling Mia's phone. Left messages. Begged her to come home. To at least let us know she was safe. Nothing. 3 weeks later, I got a collect call from a number I didn't recognize. My hands fumbled with the phone. "Mia." "No. This is Officer Hendricks from the Chicago Police Department. We picked up a young woman matching your daughter's description. She had your number listed as an emergency contact." "Is she okay? Can I talk to her?" "She refused to come to the phone. Said she doesn't want contact with family. But she wanted us to tell you she's fine." "Where is she? What happened?" "Can't disclose that. Just wanted you to know she's alive." The line went dead. Years later, I learned Daniel never really loved her either. Thomas died 3 days after that phone call. I found him in his workshop, slumped over his workbench. The doctors said heart failure. I say he gave up. When you build your entire life around someone, and they vanish, what's left to hold on to? The funeral was small. Our neighbors came. The pastor spoke about faith and forgiveness. I sat in the front pew, staring at the closed casket, thinking about how Thomas would never meet his grandchildren, would never see Mia walk through our door again. After everyone left, I stood in the cemetery alone, traced his name on the temporary marker. Thomas Pruitt, beloved husband and father. Father. The word felt like a lie. What kind of father dies without knowing where his daughter is? I sold the hardware store within a month. Couldn't stand walking past the register where Thomas used to count change, where Mia used to sit on the counter, swinging her legs, asking when she could run the cash register by herself. The house felt enormous after that. Every room echoed. I'd make coffee and realize I'd poured 2 cups out of habit. I'd set the table for 3, then stare at the empty chairs. Mia's room stayed exactly as she left it. Bed unmade, closet half open, books stacked on her desk. I'd go in there sometimes, late at night, and sit on her floor, run my fingers over the carpet where she used to sprawl out doing homework, press my face into her pillow, searching for any trace of her scent. The neighbors meant well. They'd knock on my door with casseroles and sympathy. Mrs. Henderson from across the street would say things like, "Time heals all wounds." Mr. Chen would pat my shoulder and remind me I was still young, that I could start over. But they didn't understand. You don't start over when half your heart is missing. I got a job doing bookkeeping at the community center, then picked up shifts substituting at the elementary school. By the end of the first year, I was working 3 jobs just to stay busy, just to avoid coming home to silence. Some nights, I'd imagine Mia walking through the front door. I'd rehearse what I'd say. Would I yell? Cry? Hug her? I never got the chance to find out. Christmas came. I wrapped a present for her anyway, a journal with her initials embossed on the cover, set it under the tree and waited. When New Year's rolled around, I unwrapped it and threw it in the closet with the others. People started treating me differently. At church, they'd lower their voices when I walked past. At the grocery store, I'd catch them staring. The woman whose daughter ran away. The widow. The one who couldn't keep her family together. I wanted to scream at them, to explain that I'd done everything right, that I'd loved Mia more than my own life, that sometimes love isn't enough. But I just smiled and kept moving. 2 years after Thomas died, I was cleaning out the attic, found a box of Mia's old school projects, crayon drawings, science fair ribbons, a Mother's Day card that said, "You're the best mom in the whole world." I sat on the dusty floor and cried until my ribs hurt. That's when I found the letter. It was tucked inside one of Mia's elementary school yearbooks. Plain white envelope. My name written in her handwriting. My hand shook as I opened it. "Mom, I'm sorry. I know you'll never forgive me, and I don't deserve your forgiveness anyway. I did something terrible, and I can't take it back. You were a good mother. Dad didn't deserve what happened. Maybe someday you'll understand. Maybe someday I'll be brave enough to explain. But right now, I can't. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry." I read it 3 times. Then I tore it into pieces, ripped it until the words disappeared into confetti, threw the scraps in the trash, walked out of the attic and slammed the door. Sorry doesn't bring back the dead. Sorry doesn't erase betrayal. But late that night, I dug through the trash, pulled out every piece, sat at the kitchen table with tape, trying to put it back together. The handwriting blurred through my tears, but I kept working, kept taping, because maybe, just maybe, if I could piece the letter together, I could piece our family back together too. I never finished. Some things stay broken no matter how hard you try to fix them. 5 years after Thomas died, I stopped setting a place for Mia at dinner. It wasn't a conscious decision. One evening, I just reached for 2 plates instead of 3, stayed at them for a long moment, put one back in the cabinet. That night, I ate alone at the kitchen table, and it felt like giving up. The town moved on faster than I did. Mrs. Henderson stopped bringing casseroles. Mr. Chen stopped asking how I was doing. Even the pastor's visits became less frequent. Eventually, I was just another face in the crowd, the quiet woman who worked 3 jobs and kept to herself. But inside, I was still that mother standing in the hospital hallway, waiting for news that never came. I developed routines to survive. Wake up at 5 a.m., make coffee, stare at Mia's empty chair, go to work, come home, repeat. The days blurred together like watercolors in the rain. My 40th birthday came and went. I bought myself a cupcake from the grocery store, stuck a single candle in it, and blew it out alone in my kitchen. Made a wish I knew wouldn't come true. That same year, my mother had a stroke. I spent 6 months driving back and forth to the nursing home, watching her fade. She'd ask about Mia sometimes, when her memory was particularly clouded. "When's your daughter visiting?" "She's busy, Mom." "Such a sweet girl. You raised her well." I'd squeeze her hand and say nothing. Let her believe in a version of Mia that didn't exist anymore. When Mom died, I organized the funeral myself, picked out the flowers, wrote the obituary, stood at the graveside while they lowered her into the ground next to Dad. The pastor mentioned family. How blessed Mom was to have a devoted daughter and a loving granddaughter. I didn't correct him. Let him paint whatever picture made the mourners feel better. After the service, I drove to the cemetery where Thomas was buried. Stood between their graves, my mother on one side, my husband on the other. "She didn't come," I said out loud. I didn't really think she would, but part of me hoped. The wind picked up, rustling the leaves. No answer, no sign, just me and the dead. That night, I pulled out the box I kept hidden in my closet. Letters I'd written to Mia over the years but never sent. Dozens of them. Some angry, some desperate, some just sad. I read through them all, front to back, and realized I'd been writing to a ghost. The Mia I was talking to in these letters wasn't real anymore. Maybe she never had been. I burned them in the fireplace, watched the paper curl and blacken, let the smoke carry my words somewhere I couldn't follow. Sometimes I'd swear I heard Mia's voice in my dreams. She'd be young again, maybe 10 or 11, calling for me from another room. "Mom, where's my backpack?" or "Mom, can you help me with homework?" I'd wake up and stumble out of bed, heart racing, before remembering she wasn't there. Other times, the dreams were worse. I'd see her standing at the end of a long hallway, and no matter how fast I ran, I could never reach her. She'd just keep getting further away. Once, I dreamed Thomas and Mia were sitting at our kitchen table, laughing about something. I tried to join them, but I couldn't move, couldn't speak. Just watched from the doorway while they ate breakfast without me. I woke up sobbing into my pillow. Work became my escape. I'd take any shift, any project, anything to keep my mind occupied. The community center promoted me to head bookkeeper. The school offered me a permanent position. I said yes to everything. Coworkers would invite me to happy hours or weekend gatherings. I'd make excuses. What was I supposed to talk about? How my daughter stole my life savings and disappeared. How I spent my evenings sitting in her childhood bedroom. It was easier to stay alone. My 50th birthday arrived like a slap. Half a century old. I looked in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. Gray hair I didn't bother dyeing. Lines around my eyes. A permanent sadness etched into my face. I thought about what Thomas would say if he could see me. Probably tell me to pull myself together, to stop living in the past. But the past was all I had. That year, I started volunteering at a women's shelter downtown. Met girls not much older than Mia had been, running from bad relationships, manipulative boyfriends, lives that had spiraled out of control. I'd help them fill out job applications, listen to their stories. Sometimes, I'd see Mia in their faces, wonder if she'd ended up somewhere like this, if she'd needed help and had no one to turn to. One girl, barely 19, with a black eye and a split lip, asked me why I volunteered. "I'm trying to save someone I couldn't save before," I said. She nodded like she understood. The seasons changed. Years stacked on top of years. I stopped counting after a while. My neighbors grew old. Mr. Chen died of a heart attack. Mrs. Henderson moved to Florida to live with her daughter. New families moved into their houses. People who didn't know my story, who smiled and waved without pity in their eyes. I liked them better. On what would have been Mia's 35th birthday, I drove to the bus station where she'd bought that one-way ticket to Chicago. Sat in my car and watched people come and go. Young women with backpacks and big dreams. Old men with nowhere else to be. I wondered if Mia had stood in this parking lot, second-guessing her decision. If she'd looked back toward home one last time. Probably not. That evening, I did something I'd been avoiding for years. I went through Mia's room, really went through it. Not just sitting on the floor feeling sorry for myself, but actually sorting through her things. Found old journals tucked under her mattress. Flipped through pages of teenage angst and dreams. One entry, dated 3 months before she left, said, "I can't breathe here. Mom and Dad love me, but they are suffocating me. Daniel says there's a whole world out there. He says I'm meant for something bigger. I think he's right." My hand shook reading it. Another entry, dated a week before she disappeared. "I'm scared, but I'm more scared of staying. If I don't leave now, I never will." I closed the journal and pressed it to my chest. For the first time in 15 years, I tried to see it from her perspective. Tried to understand the girl trapped in a small town, desperate for escape. She'd been wrong to steal from us, wrong to vanish without a word. But maybe, just maybe, she'd been as lost as I was now. That night, lying in bed, I made a decision. If I ever saw Mia again, I'd forgive her first, ask questions later. Life was too short to carry rage around like a second skeleton. But as more years passed, the likelihood of ever seeing her again shrunk to nearly nothing. I turned 60, then 65. Retirement crept up faster than I expected. The school threw me a small party. People I barely knew gave speeches about my dedication. I smiled and thanked them and went home to an empty house. I started taking long walks in the evenings, through neighborhoods I used to know by heart, past the hardware store, now a boutique coffee shop, past the house where Thomas and I had our first date, past the elementary school where Mia had scraped her knee in 2nd grade. Everything looked different, smaller somehow. One evening, I walked past a young mother pushing a stroller. Her daughter, maybe 3 years old, was singing at the top of her lungs. The mother laughed and sang along, completely unself-conscious. I had to sit down on a bench until the ache in my chest passed. That night, I pulled out the taped-together letter one more time, the one Mia had left in the attic. Read it by lamplight, tracing the words with my finger. Maybe someday you'll understand. I was 6 to 7 years old. Thomas had been dead for over 20 years. Mia had been gone for 25, and I still didn't understand. But I'd learned to live with it. Learned that some questions don't have answers. That closure is a luxury most people don't get. I'd made peace with the silence. Then, after 25 years, someone knocked on my door. The knock came on a Tuesday afternoon in early spring. I was in the kitchen, washing dishes from lunch, when I heard it. 3 sharp raps. Not aggressive, but firm. Purposeful. I dried my hands on a towel and walked to the front door, expecting a delivery or maybe someone asking for donations. Opened it without checking the peephole. A young man stood on my porch. Mid-20s. Tall, maybe 6 feet. Dark hair that curled slightly at the ends. He wore jeans and a plain blue t-shirt, holding a small manila envelope in one hand and something else in the other I couldn't quite see. But it was his eyes that stopped me cold. Steel blue, exactly like Daniel's. My breath caught. "Can I help you?" He shifted his weight, looking nervous. "Ah, you Lydia Pruitt." "Yes." "My name is Adam." He paused, swallowing hard. "I'm your daughter's son." The world tilted sideways. I grabbed the doorframe to steady myself. Opened my mouth, but no sound came out. Just stared at this stranger claiming to be my grandson. "I know this is a shock," he said quickly. "I have pictures. Proof. I can show you." "You're lying." My voice came out sharp, defensive. "I'm not. Please, just, can I come in?" For 5 minutes. If you still don't believe me after that, I'll leave. Everything in my body screamed to slam the door, to protect myself from whatever new pain this was. But I saw Mia in his face, the shape of his jaw, the way his left eyebrow arched slightly higher than the right. I stepped aside. He walked into my living room, moving carefully, like he was afraid of breaking something. Sat on the edge of the couch when I gestured for him to sit. I stayed standing, arms crossed. Show me the proof. Adam reached into his back pocket and pulled out a photograph, handed it to me with shaking hands. It was Mia, older, maybe in her 30s, standing next to a small boy with dark curly hair. They were at a park somewhere, both smiling at the camera. She wore a yellow sundress. Her hair was shorter than I remembered, with streaks of grey starting at the temples. But it was definitely her. My legs gave out. I sat down hard in the armchair across from him. Where did you get this? That's my mom, and that's me when I was 7. I looked closer at the boy in the photo. Same steel blue eyes staring back at me. When was this taken? 12 years ago, before she got sick. Sick? Adam's face crumpled slightly. She had cancer, ovarian, diagnosed 3 years ago. She fought it for a while, but... He trailed off. But what? She died 6 weeks ago. The room spun. I pressed my palm against my forehead, trying to process words that didn't make sense. Mia was dead. My daughter was dead. I'd spent 25 years waiting for her to come home, and now she never would. No. I shook my head. No, you're lying. This is some kind of scam. People do this all the time. Show up claiming to be relatives, trying to get money. I don't want your money. Adam leaned forward. I came because she asked me to. Asked you to what? He held up the envelope and something else, a small brass key. She said I had to give these to you. Said it was important. Her last wish. I stared at the key. It looked old, tarnished, like it had been sitting in a drawer for years. What does it open? A storage unit. In Chicago. She's been paying for it since before I was born. My hands trembled as I reached for the envelope. Adam handed it over. My name was written on the front in Mia's handwriting, older, shakier, but still recognizably hers. I couldn't open it. Not yet. Tell me about her, I whispered. Tell me what happened after she left. Adam took a deep breath. I don't know everything. She didn't talk about the past much, but I know she and my father split up before I was born. She raised me alone, worked 2 jobs to keep us fed. We moved around a lot, different cities, different apartments. She'd get restless and say we needed a fresh start. Your father, Daniel. I never met him. She said he wasn't a good person, that she made a mistake getting involved with him. I thought about the money, about Thomas's death, about all those years of silence. Did she ever mention us? Me and her father? Adam nodded slowly. Sometimes, usually late at night when she'd had too much wine. She'd cry and say she ruined everything, that she'd made choices she couldn't undo. But she never came back. She said she was too ashamed, that she didn't deserve forgiveness. I pressed my fists against my eyes, trying not to break down in front of this stranger. This boy who was half Mia, half the man who destroyed our family. How did you find me? She kept newspaper clippings, about the town, about you. I found them after she died, going through her things. It wasn't hard to track you down after that. I looked at the key again. What's in the storage unit? I don't know. She never told me. Just said you'd understand. That you'd know what to do with it. I don't understand anything. Adam stood up. I know this is overwhelming. I've been trying to work up the courage to come here for weeks. But she was so insistent. Made me promise on her deathbed that I'd deliver this. He pulled out his phone and showed me another photo. Mia in a hospital bed, thin and pale, but smiling weakly at the camera. Adam was next to her, holding her hand. This was taken 2 days before she died. She said, "Tell my mother I'm sorry. Tell her I loved her every single day, even when I couldn't show it." I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. 25 years of anger and grief and loneliness all crashing down at once. "She loved you," Adam said softly. "I know that doesn't change what happened. I know it doesn't fix anything. But I needed you to know." I finally opened the envelope with shaking fingers. Inside was a letter, several pages, front and back, covered in Mia's handwriting, and a Polaroid photo. The photo showed a storage unit, orange door, number 217 painted on the front. I unfolded the letter but couldn't focus on the words. They swam across the page. "I can't do this right now," I said, voice breaking. "I understand." Adam set the key on the coffee table. "The storage unit address is in the letter. When you're ready, if you're ready, you can go see for yourself what she left you." He stood up to leave. Got halfway to the door before I found my voice again. "Adam." He turned back. "Do you have somewhere to stay? Here in town?" I was going to find a motel. I looked at this boy, this grandson I never knew existed. He had Mia's nose, my husband's hands. "Stay here tonight. We can talk more in the morning." His eyes filled with tears. "Are you sure?" I wasn't sure about anything, but sending him away felt like losing Mia all over again. "Guest room is upstairs. Second door on the right." Adam nodded, wiping his eyes. "Thank you." After he went upstairs, I sat alone in the living room, holding Mia's letter in one hand and the brass key in the other. "She said you'd know what to do with it, but I didn't know. I had no idea what I was supposed to do with any of this. I didn't sleep that night. Just sat at the kitchen table, staring at Mia's letter. I must have picked it up a dozen times, got as far as the first sentence, then put it back down. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Around 3 a.m., I heard footsteps upstairs. Adam, probably unable to sleep either. The floorboards creaked as he moved around the guest room, Mia's old room. I wondered what he thought, sleeping in his mother's childhood bed. By sunrise, I'd made a decision. I had to see what was in that storage unit. Whatever Mia left behind, whatever secret she'd kept for 25 years, I needed to know, even if it destroyed me. Adam came downstairs around 7, looking as exhausted as I felt. "I'm going to Chicago," I said. "Today." He nodded like he'd been expecting it. "I'll drive you." "You don't have to." She was my mom. I need to see this too. We left after breakfast. Adam drove. His car was newer, more reliable than my old sedan. The 3-hour drive felt longer. Neither of us spoke much. Just watched the farmland blur past the windows, each lost in our own thoughts. I kept the key in my pocket, running my thumb over the rough edges. It was warm from my body heat. Real. Solid. Proof that this wasn't just another dream. The storage facility was on the south side of Chicago, tucked between an auto repair shop and a laundromat. The building looked ancient, crumbling brick, weeds growing through cracks in the parking lot, a faded sign that read, "Safekeep Storage." Adam parked near the front entrance. We both sat there for a moment, neither making a move to get out. "You okay?" he asked. "No." I unbuckled my seatbelt. "But let's do this anyway." Inside, the hallway smelled like mildew and old cardboard. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting strange shadows. Our footsteps echoed off concrete walls. Unit 217 was at the end of the corridor. Second floor. We climbed a metal staircase that groaned under our weight. The orange door looked exactly like the photo. Same number painted in black. Same dent in the lower right corner. I pulled out the key. My hand hovered over the padlock. "What if I don't want to know?" I whispered. "Then we leave," Adam said. "Right now. No judgment." I thought about that. About turning around, going home, keeping Mia frozen in my memory as that restless 17-year-old. never having to face whatever truth waited behind this door. But I'd spent 25 years not knowing. That had to be worse. I inserted the key. It turned with a soft click. The padlock fell open. Adam helped me lift the rolling door. It screeched and groaned, fighting us every inch. Dust rained down from the track. The smell hit me first. Stale air trap for decades. Inside was almost empty. Just one wooden chest sitting in the center of the concrete floor. Maybe 3 feet long, 2 feet wide. Dark wood, scratched and worn. The kind of chest people used to store blankets, old photographs. And next to it, a sealed manila envelope propped against the wall. We stepped inside. Adam pulled a flashlight from his pocket, shining it around the small space. No hidden compartments. No other boxes. Just the chest and the envelope. I knelt down in front of the chest. Ran my fingers along the lid. No lock. Just a simple brass latch. My mind flashed back to Mia at 7 years old, kneeling in front of her toy chest in the same way. She'd kept all her treasures in there, seashells from the one vacation we took to the coast, her favorite stuffed rabbit, drawings she'd made at school. "Mom, don't look!" she'd shriek if I got too close. "These are my secrets." I'd laugh and promise not to peek. Let her have her privacy, her small world of important things. Now here I was, about to open another chest, another collection of secrets. I lifted the latch. The hinges complained as I pushed the lid back. Adam shone the flashlight inside. Letters, dozens of them, all addressed to me in Mia's handwriting, stacked neatly and bound with rubber bands. Dates written on the envelopes spanning years, some from when she first left, others more recent. Underneath the letters, a photo album. Black leather cover, corners worn smooth. And beneath that, official-looking documents. I pulled one out. It was a bank statement, but not from our old account. This was something else. A savings account in my name, opened 15 years ago. The balance made my vision blur. $4,000 to $7,000. What is this? I breathed. Adam leaned closer, reading over my shoulder. She saved it. She paid it back. I pulled out another document, then another. All bank statements, all showing regular deposits over the years. Small amounts at first, 100 here, 200 there, then larger sums as time went on. There was a notarized letter of explanation clipped to the most recent statement. To Lydia Pruitt, this account was established to return the funds taken from your family savings in 2000. I have worked to repay every dollar, plus interest, to account for the time lost. The account is now in your name with full access granted. I hope this doesn't erase what I did, but maybe it's a start. Mia. My throat closed up. Tears blurred the words. She'd been paying it back. For 15 years. Every spare dollar she earned while raising a child alone, working multiple jobs. She'd been sending it to an account I didn't know existed. "There's more," Adam said softly, pointing to another envelope in the chest. I opened it with trembling fingers. Inside were copies of cancelled checks, dozens of them, made out to Harrison County Community Fund and St. Mary's Women's Shelter and Youth Education Trust. All signed by Mia. "I don't understand," I whispered. Adam pulled out a handwritten note tucked between the checks. "Mom, I couldn't live with what I'd done. The money Daniel convinced me to take, I never spent it on myself. After I left him, I put every penny into accounts for you and for causes Dad would have supported. The local shelter, the community fund, kids who needed help. I wanted to turn something terrible into something good. I wanted Dad's sacrifice to mean something. I'm sorry it took me so long. I'm sorry I was too afraid to come home. But I never forgot where I came from. I never forgot who taught me to be better. Mia." The flashlight beam shook in Adam's hand. He was crying too. I sat back on my heels, papers scattered around me. 25 years. 25 years I'd believed my daughter was a selfish thief who destroyed our family and never looked back. But she'd carried the weight of it every single day. Had worked herself to exhaustion trying to make it right. Had been too ashamed to come home but too devoted to forget. Another memory surfaced. Mia at 13, crying in the kitchen because she'd accidentally broken Thomas's favorite coffee mug. It was an accident, sweetheart, Thomas had said, hugging her. But it was important to you, she'd sobbed. I ruined it. Things can be replaced. You can't. She'd spent a month doing extra chores to buy him a new mug. It wasn't the same one, could never be, but Thomas kept it on his desk until the day he died. That was Mia. She'd always tried to fix her mistakes, even the ones that couldn't be fixed. I pulled out the photo album, opened it to the first page. Pictures of Adam as a baby, Mia holding him, looking young and exhausted but smiling. The next page showed Adam's first birthday, then his first day of school. Pages and pages documenting a life I'd missed. But tucked between the photos were pictures of us. Me and Thomas at our wedding. Mia as a toddler on Thomas's shoulders. The three of us in front of the hardware store. Christmas mornings. Summer picnics. She'd kept them all. Carried them with her through every move, every fresh start. Never forgot where she came from. Near the back of the album was a photo I'd never seen before. Recent. Mia, older, thinner, hair gone from chemotherapy, sitting with Adam in what looked like a hospital room. She was smiling at the camera, but her eyes looked tired. So tired. On the back, written in shaky handwriting, "Tell her I tried. Tell her I'm sorry I didn't try harder." I closed the album and pressed it to my chest, finally letting myself break down. Huge, gasping sobs that echoed off the concrete walls. Adam put his arm around my shoulders, crying with me. All those years, all that anger, all that pain. And she'd been suffering too, trying to make amends the only way she knew how. Raising a son alone, fighting cancer, dying without ever hearing me say I forgave her. I grabbed the bundle of letters. The earliest one was dated August 2000, 1 month after she left. I opened it with shaking hands. Dear Mom, I don't know if you'll ever read this. I don't know if I'll ever be brave enough to send it, but I need to write it anyway. I need you to know I'm sorry. I need you to know I was wrong about everything. Daniel lied to me. He took the money and left me in a motel room in Chicago with nothing but a bus ticket and $20. I was so stupid. So stupid. I wanted to call you that night. Wanted to beg you to come get me. But I couldn't face you. Couldn't face what I'd done to you and Dad. So I'm writing instead. Maybe someday I'll work up the courage to come home. Until then, please know I love you. I'm sorry. Mia. I opened another letter. Then another. Years of apologies, updates, confessions. Stories about Adam growing up. Mentions of different jobs, different cities. And always, I'm sorry. I love you. I wish I could come home. The most recent letter was dated 3 months ago. Dear Mom, I'm dying. The doctors say I have weeks, maybe a month if I'm lucky. I've asked Adam to bring you to the storage unit after I'm gone. I know it's cowardly. I should have come home years ago. Should have faced you. But fear is a powerful thing. I spent my whole life running from what I'd done. Now I'm out of time. Inside this chest is everything I couldn't say to your face. Proof that I never stopped loving you. That I tried, in my own broken way, to make things right. I hope you can forgive me. Not for my sake. I don't deserve it. But for yours. Don't carry this anger anymore, Mom. It'll eat you alive like it ate me. And please take care of Adam. He's the only good thing I ever did. He has your stubbornness and Dad's kindness. Love him for me. Mia. I looked up at Adam through my tears. Saw Thomas in his gentle eyes. Saw Mia in his nervous smile. She loved you so much, I whispered. I know. His voice cracked. She talked about you all the time. About the cinnamon rolls you made. About Dad teaching her to fish. About the hardware store. She said home was the best thing she ever had, and she threw it away. I stood up on shaky legs, looked around the storage unit one more time, at the chest full of letters I'd never received. at the documents proving she'd paid back every penny, at the photos showing a life I'd never been part of. And then I saw what she had done with the money. Not just saved it, not just returned it. She'd turned her worst mistake into something beautiful, helped other women, supported local causes, raised a kind, thoughtful young man, carried her guilt and shame for 25 years, but never let it stop her from trying to be better. My daughter wasn't perfect. She'd made terrible choices, hurt people who loved her, but she'd spent the rest of her life trying to fix it, and maybe that was enough. Adam and I sat in that storage unit for another hour, going through every piece of paper, every letter, every document, building a picture of Mia's life from scattered fragments. But it was the folder at the very bottom of the chest that changed everything. It was thick, maybe 2 inches of papers bound together with a large clip. The tab read Hope House Records 2003 to 2024. I pulled it out carefully. The first page was a mission statement typed on faded paper. Hope House exists to provide safe, temporary housing for single mothers escaping domestic violence. We offer shelter, job training, childcare assistance, and legal support. No woman should have to choose between safety and homelessness. Founded 2003. Beneath it was a list of addresses, 6 different locations across Chicago and surrounding suburbs. What is this? I whispered. Adam leaned over. I recognized some of these addresses. Mom took me to a few of them when I was little. She said she was volunteering. I flipped through the pages. Financial records, rental agreements, all signed by someone named M. Harper. Mia's middle name was Harper. She'd been running safe houses for over 20 years. The next section contained letters from women who'd stayed at Hope House. Dozens of them. Handwritten thank you notes on various types of paper, notebook paper, stationery, even napkins. DM, you saved my life. I had nowhere to go and you gave me a place to heal. My daughter and I are safe now because of you. I don't know how to thank you for what you did. You took us in when everyone else turned their backs. You believed me when no one else would. You told me I deserved better. You were right. I'm in my own apartment now with a good job. My kids are happy. Thank you for showing me the way out. Page after page, woman after woman. Lives changed because Mia had given them shelter. I found financial ledgers showing regular expenses, rent payments, utility bills, grocery receipts, all paid from an account funded by anonymous donations. But tucked inside was another document, a bank transfer record from August 2000. $37,000 deposited into an account labeled Hope House Foundation. The money she took from us, she'd used it to start the shelters. My hands went numb. She didn't spend it on herself. No, Adam said quietly. She used it to help other people. I kept reading. Found receipts for furniture donations, beds, cribs, kitchen supplies, training program fees for job skills workshops, legal consultation payments for women seeking restraining orders. Every dollar accounted for. Every cent spent on women who needed help. There was a personal journal entry paper clipped to one section. Mia's handwriting, dated 2003. I can't undo what I did to my parents. I can't bring Dad back. I can't give Mom those years back. But I can try to be the person they raised me to be. Daniel showed me what abuse looks like. What manipulation does to someone. I fell for his lies because I was young and desperate to escape. How many other women are trapped the same way? If I can help even one person get free, maybe Dad's sacrifice won't be for nothing. I pressed my fist against my mouth, trying not to sob out loud. Adam pulled out another folder. Look at this. Medical bills. Hundreds of them. All marked paid. Cancer treatments, chemotherapy sessions, radiation therapy. The costs were staggering, tens of thousands of dollars. But mixed in were pawn shop receipts. Jewelry sold for cash. A wedding ring I recognized, the one Thomas's mother had given me, which I'd passed down to Mia. Sold for $800. Her laptop. Sold for $200. A guitar she'd loved since childhood. Sold for $150. Every personal possession liquidated to pay for treatments while keeping the shelters running. Near the bottom was a letter from a hospital billing department, dated 6 months ago. Ms. Harper, we understand your financial situation. However, your account is severely past due. If you cannot make payment arrangements, we will be forced to send your case to collections. She'd been dying, broke, alone, and still paying rent on those safe houses. She chose them over herself, Adam said, voice thick. She could have stopped the donations, used that money for better treatment, experimental therapies, but she kept the shelters open instead. I found a calendar marked with appointments. Doctor visits crossed out with notes like reschedule, can't afford copay and cancelled, need rent money for Hope House number 3. She'd been letting herself die to save strangers. My vision blurred. This wasn't the selfish girl who ran away. This wasn't the thief who destroyed our family. This was someone who'd spent a lifetime trying to atone. At the very bottom of the folder was one final letter, sealed in a white envelope. My name written on the front in Mia's handwriting, shaky, barely legible. My hands trembled as I opened it. Dear Mom, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Adam brought you here like I asked. I hope he's doing okay. I hope you're not too angry with him for keeping my secret. I need to tell you the truth. All of it, even the parts that hurt. When I left with Daniel, I thought I was so smart. Thought I knew better than you and Dad. He promised me the world, travel, adventure, freedom from small-town life. All I had to do was get some startup money, just enough to get us on our feet. He convinced me you and Dad wouldn't miss it, that you'd understand eventually, that we'd pay it back once we were successful. I was such a fool. The morning after I withdrew the money, Daniel drove us to a motel outside Chicago. Said we'd stay there while he looked for an apartment. I fell asleep feeling excited about our future. When I woke up, he was gone. The money was gone. He left me with nothing but a note that said, "Thanks for everything, kid." I was 18 years old, pregnant, and alone in a strange city with $20 and a bus ticket. I should have called you, should have swallowed my pride and begged you to come get me. But I couldn't face you, couldn't bear the thought of seeing the disappointment in your eyes. So I lied to myself, said I'd figure it out, get a job, pay you back, make everything right. But life kept happening. Adam was born. I had to work 3 jobs just to keep us fed. Every time I saved enough to maybe come home, something would happen. He'd get sick, I'd lose a job, rent would go up. Years passed. The guilt got heavier. The shame got deeper. Then one night, I was walking home from my shift at a diner, and I saw a woman sitting on the curb. She had a black eye and a split lip. A little girl sleeping in her arms. No bags. No coat even though it was freezing. I stopped and asked if she was okay. She started crying. Said her boyfriend beat her. That she'd finally left but had nowhere to go. All the shelters were full. I took her to my apartment. Let her and her daughter sleep on my couch. Helped her find a job. A lawyer. A new place to live. And I thought about how easily that could have been me. How if Daniel had been violent instead of just a liar, I would have been that woman on the curb. That's when I decided I couldn't undo what I did to you and Dad, but I could help women like her, women who needed a safe place to start over. I took the money I'd been saving to pay you back and put a deposit on a small apartment, turned it into a shelter, called it Hope House. I know that sounds crazy, that you'll wonder why I didn't just give you the money directly, but Mom, I couldn't. Every time I tried to write you or call, I'd freeze. The thought of hearing your voice, hearing the pain I'd caused, it was too much. So I kept running the shelters, kept helping women escape, kept telling myself that maybe if I saved enough people, it would balance out the damage I'd done. Over the years, Hope House grew. More locations, more women helped. I wiped myself to exhaustion, but it felt right. It felt like the only way to honor what Dad tried to teach me, that you take care of people, that community matters, That love means sacrifice. When I got sick, I knew my time was limited. I wanted to come home, wanted to see you one more time, ask for your forgiveness in person. But I was too weak, too ashamed, too afraid. So I'm doing this instead, leaving you everything I couldn't say to your face. I never stopped loving you, not for a single day. I thought about you every morning, wondered if you were okay, if you'd remarried, if you still made cinnamon rolls on Sundays. I kept every letter you never sent, every memory we made together. They were my anchor when the guilt tried to drown me. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I stole from you. I lied to you. I let Dad die thinking I didn't care. But if there's any part of you that can let go of the anger, please do it. Not for me. I'm beyond that now. But for yourself. Don't let what I did poison the rest of your life. And please, please take care of Adam. He's everything I wasn't. Honest, kind, brave. He has your strength and Dad's gentle heart. He deserves to know his grandmother, to have family. Tell him stories about the hardware store, about Dad teaching me to fish, about the life we had before I destroyed it. Let him know where he comes from. I'm so sorry, Mom, for everything, for all of it. I hope wherever you are, there are cinnamon rolls and quiet mornings and people who love you the way I should have loved you. I hope you can forgive me someday. I hope I made Dad proud, even just a little. I love you. I always did. I just didn't know how to come home. Mia. The letter slipped from my hands. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Just felt this enormous weight crushing my chest. 25 years of anger, of grief, of wondering why she left and never came back. And the answer was shame. Fear. The kind of guilt that carves itself into your bones and never lets go. She'd been suffering too, all this time, waking herself to death trying to fix something that couldn't be fixed, helping others because she couldn't help herself. My daughter. My beautiful, stubborn, broken daughter. I thought about all the years I'd spent hating her, all the nights I'd cursed her name, all the times I'd wished she'd never been born. And she'd been out there, dying slowly, turning her worst mistake into something beautiful. Adam knelt beside me, putting his arm around my shoulders. She loved you. She always loved you. I know. My voice came out strangled. I know she did. I looked at the folders spread around us, at the lives Mia had changed, at the women she'd saved, at the legacy she'd left behind. She'd taken our $37,000, our life savings, our dreams, our future, and used it to build hope for strangers. She'd taken her betrayal and turned it into redemption. Not for herself. She'd never forgiven herself, but for everyone else who needed a second chance. I thought about Thomas, about how he'd always said Mia had a good heart, that underneath the rebellion and the restlessness, she was kind. He'd been right. I gathered up all the letters, both the ones Mia wrote and the ones from the women she'd helped, held them close to my chest. Take me to the shelters, I said to Adam. I want to see them. Are you sure? I'm sure. We loaded everything back into the chest, carried it down to the car. The drive to the nearest Hope House took 20 minutes. It was a modest building on a quiet street. Clean, safe, flower boxes in the windows. Through the glass door, I could see women sitting in a common room, some holding babies, others talking quietly, a little girl playing with blocks on the floor. They looked tired, scared, but alive, safe, because my daughter gave them shelter. I stood there watching them for a long time. Adam waited patiently beside me. Finally, I whispered, "She did it. She really did it." "Yeah," Adam said softly. "She did." Mia's betrayal had destroyed our family, had killed my husband, had stolen 25 years of my life, but it had also saved dozens of women, had given them hope when they had none, had shown them that escape was possible. Both things were true. Both things mattered. And somehow, standing there watching those women laugh and cry and heal, I felt something shift inside my chest. The anger I'd carried for so long started to crack. Not disappearing, not forgotten, but softening, making room for something else. Understanding, acceptance, and maybe, eventually, forgiveness. My daughter was gone. I'd never get to hold her again. Never get to tell her I understood, that I forgave her, that I loved her despite everything. But her son was standing beside me. Her legacy was thriving across 6 different buildings. Her impact was rippling out through generations of women who would raise their children in safety because Mia showed them the way. That had to be enough. It had to be. The next morning, Adam and I stood outside Hope House number 3, the oldest shelter Mia had opened. The one she'd started with our stolen money. "Are you ready?" Adam asked. I nodded, even though my stomach was doing flips. He'd called ahead. The current director, a woman named Carmen, was expecting us. She met us at the door, mid-40s with kind eyes and silver streaks in her dark hair. "You must be Lydia." She shook my hand warmly. "Adam told me who you are. I'm so sorry for your loss." "Thank you." Carmen led us through the house. It was larger than it looked from outside. 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a big kitchen with a worn wooden table. The walls were painted soft yellow. Children's drawings hung on the refrigerator. Mia, OM as we knew her, started this place 21 years ago, Carmen explained. I was one of the first women who stayed here. My ex-husband put me in the hospital. I had nowhere to go, no money, no family willing to help. M took me in, helped me get on my feet. 5 years later, she asked me to run the place. We walked into the living room. 3 women sat on couches, one nursing a baby, another helping a toddler with a coloring book, the third staring out the window with hollow eyes. "Ladies, this is Lydia, MS mother." The woman with the baby looked up, eyes widening. "Yo MS mom?" "Yes." She stood up carefully, cradling her infant. "She saved my life. I was living in my car with my daughter. Winter was coming. I didn't know how we'd survive. M found us at a gas station, brought us here, gave us a home." The woman with the toddler nodded. She visited every week, brought groceries, helped with job applications, never judged us, just helped. "Where is she?" the third woman asked quietly. "We haven't seen her in months." Carmen's expression softened. "M passed away 6 weeks ago." The room went silent. The woman with the baby started crying. No, that can't be right." "She was sick for a long time," Adam said gently, "but she made sure the houses would keep running. She set up a trust fund. You're all safe." I watched these women, strangers to me, mourn my daughter, saw genuine grief on their faces. They'd loved her, trusted her, depended on her. Mia had been a mother to them in ways I'd never known. Carmen showed us through the rest of the house. Each bedroom had been carefully arranged. Beds with clean sheets, dresses with donated clothes, small toys for children. Everything organized with thought and care. M paid attention to details, Carmen said. She'd notice if a woman was left-handed and make sure the desk lamp was positioned correctly. If a kid had allergies, she'd buy special foods. She made everyone feel seen. In the hallway hung a bulletin board covered in photos. Women smiling with their children. Graduation pictures. First day of work photos. Wedding announcements. These are all women who stayed here. I asked. Just a fraction of them. Over 2 decades, we've helped more than 300 women and their children get back on their feet. Because of MS Vision. Her sacrifice. 300 lives. Changed because my daughter refused to give up. Refused to let her mistake define her. We sat in the kitchen while Carmen made tea. The woman with the baby, her name was Jessica, joined us. "Can I tell you something?" Jessica said to me, "M talked about you sometimes. Late at night when everyone else was asleep. She'd sit right here at this table and tell me about growing up in a small town. About her dad teaching her to fish. About her mom's cinnamon rolls." My throat tightened. She'd cry, Jessica continued. Say she ruined the best thing she ever had. That she didn't deserve forgiveness but prayed for it anyway. She deserved it, I whispered. She always deserved it. Jessica reached across the table and squeezed my hand. She gave me my life back. Gave all of us our lives back. Whatever she did before, she spent every day trying to make it right. I thought about Thomas, about how he'd wanted Mia to take over the hardware store, to stay close, to build a life in our small town. She'd built something bigger, not what we'd planned, not what we'd dreamed, but something that mattered. She'd turned our family's tragedy into hope for hundreds of strangers. Carmen walked us to the door when we were ready to leave. Will you keep the houses running? She asked. The trust fund I'm set up will last a few years, but eventually. Yes, I said without hesitation. Whatever they need. I'll make sure of it. Her eyes filled with tears. Thank you. Outside, Adam and I stood on the sidewalk. I looked up at the house, at the flower boxes, the warm light glowing in the windows, the children's drawings visible through the glass. She was good, I said. Despite everything. She was good. She tried to be, Adam replied. Every single day. I turned to face him, really looked at him for the first time. Saw Mia in his compassionate eyes. Saw Thomas in his steady presence. Saw a young man who'd been raised by a broken woman trying desperately to do right. Adam. I took his hands. You're the only piece of her I have left. Let's start again. Not as strangers. As family. His face crumpled. I'd like that. Come home with me. To the house where she grew up. I'll show you pictures. Tell you stories. We'll figure this out together. He nodded, wiping his eyes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. We drove back to Indiana that afternoon. The chest from the storage unit sat in the trunk, carrying 25 years of secrets, confessions, and redemption. When we got home, I made cinnamon rolls. Used my grandmother's recipe, the same one Mia had loved as a child. The house filled with that familiar smell. Adam sat at the kitchen table, in the same spot Mia used to sit, and ate 3 of them. These are incredible, he said through a mouthful. Your mom loved them. Would eat 4 in one sitting if I let her. She made them for me sometimes. Never got them quite right. Now I know why. She was trying to recreate these from memory. We stayed up late that night. I pulled out photo albums. Showed him Mia at every age. Told him about her first day of school, her first bike, her first heartbreak. All the moments that shaped her into the person she became. She was always restless, I said. Always looking for something bigger. I used to think that was a flaw. Now I wonder if it's what made her brave enough to help all those women. Adam smiled. She used to say her biggest fear was staying still. That the world would pass her by. It didn't. She made sure of that. Before bed, I did something I hadn't done in 25 years. I opened Mia's bedroom door, really opened it, not just peeking in, and let Adam see it. This was hers. Exactly as she left it. He walked around slowly, touching her books, her desk, her bed. It's like a time capsule. I couldn't change it, couldn't let her go. And now, I looked around the room, at the band posters on the wall, the dusty trophies on the shelf, the childhood frozen in time. Now I think she'd want us to use it, to live in it. This is your room if you want it. Really? You're my grandson. This is your home. Adam's eyes filled with tears for the 100th time that day. Thank you. That night, lying in bed, I finally let myself cry. Not the bitter, angry tears I'd cried for years, but something softer. Grief mixed with gratitude. Pain mixed with peace. My daughter was gone. I'd never hold her again. Never tell her I understood. Never watch her walk through my door. But her son was asleep down the hall. Her legacy was thriving in 6 safe houses. Her story was finally complete. And somewhere, I hoped, Thomas was waiting for her. telling her he forgave her, telling her he was proud. I forgave her too. Completely. Finally. Not because what she did was okay, but because she'd spent a lifetime trying to make it right. Because love means letting go of anger. Because holding on to pain only destroys the person carrying it. Mia made terrible choices. Hurt people who loved her. Left wounds that never fully healed. But she also saved lives. Created hope where there was none. Turned her worst moment into her greatest achievement. Both things were true. Both things mattered. And that was enough. Sometimes forgiveness arrives decades later, wearing the face of a stranger. That's what I learned when Adam knocked on my door carrying secrets I'd stopped hoping to find. The storage unit key sits on my dresser now. I look at it every morning. This small brass thing that unlocked 25 years of mystery. Adam enrolled in the community college. He's studying social work. Says he wants to help people like his mother did. Like his grandmother does now. Together, we manage the Hope houses. I visit every week. Bring groceries. Listen to stories. Sometimes I see Mia in these women. That same desperate look she must have had when Daniel left her alone and pregnant. And I make sure none of them have to face that darkness alone. Last month, we had the wooden chest restored. Added an engraving on the lid. Lydia and Mia Pruitt, love endures all things. It sits in my living room now, full of letters I'll reread on hard days, photos of a life that was and could have been, proof that people can change, that redemption is possible. Adam asks about Thomas sometimes. I tell him his grandfather would have loved him, would have taught him to fish, would have been so proud, and I believe that's true. Some nights, I dream about Mia, not the angry, frightened girl who ran away, but the woman she became, flawed, broken, but desperately trying to be better. In these dreams, she's healthy, happy, home. And when I wake up, instead of feeling loss, I feel grateful. Grateful we loved each other. Grateful she never stopped trying. Grateful for the grandson who brought her back to me. The hardware store is gone. Thomas is gone. Mia is gone. But love remains. Hope remains. Family remains. And that's everything. If this story touched your heart, drop a comment below. What would you have done in Lydia's place? Could you have forgiven? Would you have understood? And hit that subscribe button because you need to hear what happens next. See, there was one more secret in that box. Something Adam found tucked inside his mother's old journal. A name, an address, and a truth that changes everything we thought we knew about the night Mia disappeared. Daniel didn't just leave her in that motel room. He took something else. Something Mia spent her entire life searching for. And when Adam finds out what it was, he'll have to make a choice that could destroy the family he just found, or finally bring the justice Mia never got. Don't miss the next chapter. Subscribe now. Turn on notifications. This story isn't over yet. The truth is still out there, and it's darker than anyone imagined.